Welcome everybody to our clarifying range launch. I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to join us today, and also welcome Trevor and Alicia who are joining me on the training today. As most of you know, with this platform, we cannot see or hear you. So if you have any questions, please pop them into the question box or hang on to them until the end, because we may actually answer them throughout the slides that you're going to see today. We are so thrilled to be launching our latest product innovation to all of you, the S Clarifying Range, our answer to acne-prone skin concerns. Over the next hour and a half, we are going to cover the introduction of the clarifying range, the professional positioning in the market, marketing and sales support to ensure your business and markets are successful, treatment protocols, and we'll end off the day with some frequently asked questions. All of these supporting tools will be loaded onto the portal within this week, so please look out for that email. Now, acne treatment has become more aggressive over the last few decades, and still 85% of teens are afflicted. This treatment isn't suitable for a balanced microbiome, so S needed to investigate a way to treat acne without disturbing the skin microbiome. S has harnessed the power of biotechnology to offer a treatment regime that considers the perspective offered by advances in skin microbiome science. We treat skin as an ecology and seek a long-term solution to this common skin disease. So who best to introduce this new range to all of us other than Trevor himself?
Hi. I've been on US time for a while. I've been doing a conference, a skin microbiome conference. So my last talk was about 10 o'clock last night. So if I'm looking a bit hammered, that's why. Nothing to do with beer. Filming this thing was a pain in the ass, I can tell you that much. I had to wake up at because that was one photograph every 3 hours. So, you know, the first photograph was at maybe 10 o'clock, the next photograph was 1, and the next photograph was 4. So waking up, taking a picture and trying to go back to sleep sucks, especially when you do it like 3-4 nights in a row. But that's how we got the time lapse that you're seeing. Anyway, so yeah, let's do the new clarifying range. Yeah, harnessing the power of biotechnology for acne. So yeah, you know, last night we were on I was on a panel discussion with look, they're mostly academics, but also some brand owners. And the pitch was, yeah, one of the panel question that we were dealing with was, you know, given the state of knowledge in the skin microbiome, how do we talk to the client? Yeah, and it's you know, and the one guy, Larry Weiss, he was just mentioning that, you know, from the point of the skin microbiome, we're actually the microbiome in general, we're kind of where physics was in the early 1900s. You know, there were people in the early 1900s who were saying things like, well, all the big discoveries in physics have been made. We kind of know what's going on, and Newtonian physics explains the world around us quite nicely. And then between Rutherford and Einstein and a few others, you end up with quantum mechanics and relativity, which makes everything that we've learned before null. And everybody goes, okay, that was much more complex than we were hoping for, and now we've got an almost impossible task as we start trying to figure out this unbelievably complex mishmash of, and that's just time and space, you know. So the same sort of things happened in biology now. You know, we thought we kind of had a handle on how the immune system worked. And, you know, we were getting into the nitty-gritty of how each little cytokine was influencing inflammation, and starting to pull apart the details. And then comes this microbiome, and everybody goes, okay, we weren't even dealing with one thing. Now we're dealing with this whole ecosystem, and it is quite mind-blowing. But honestly, that's not what the client wants to hear. That was my point, is that the very last thing that the client wants to hear is that, like, geez, holy shit, everything's changed. We're just kind of wrapping our heads around it, and we're just doing the best we can. They want to hear that, well, it was quite confusing until a stormy Sunday afternoon, and then it came to me in a flash, and it's all fixed now. So it's a tough time to try to speak to the client. So I think given an intractably complex ecosystem, our response is valid. Mimic the conditions for which we have evolved. When faced with deep complexity, start off by using new science to mimic the conditions for which we've evolved. So that at the base of it has been our response to acne as well, as it is to general skin health. So there was another thing that came up during this conference, which was, how do we explain to the client that a reduction in Staphylococcus aureus on their skin might be a good thing, or perhaps that an increase in diversity of the number of strains of P. acnes is desirable, and that you don't want dominance of a single P. acnes strain. And again, I think we've got to be more client-facing. The person buying the product doesn't give a shit about their skin microbiome, and that really was my point. Just like the person on the other end really cares about whether they're going to get laid on Friday night. It's not it's just show me results. So our focus with acne has been pretty crisp. I had acne as a teen, and I remember how disturbing it was. Like, one of the things was, like, why the face? Give me acne on my arse or my elbow, but like not the face. So but anyway, like you can hide acne almost anywhere else, but geez, man. So we were looking at, the non-inflamed lesions were just not a massive target. We have improvement there, but our target is, if I have like one blackhead here, it's not influencing how people view me. If I have a deeply inflamed cyst on my face, though, it's another thing entirely. So, yeah, it's we in the grand scheme of things, when we looked at, there are hundreds of acne grading systems, by the way, and there's no common ground on which one to use. There are some that are used in, perhaps by therapists or, in the lay industry, and then there are academic and statistically relevant versions of those, and it's almost null which one you end up choosing, because they're around about equally used around the world and in academia. But we really wanted to focus on inflammatory lesions. So that was the goal. Okay, so this is the conventional narrative. first of all, in A, you get hyperkeratosis. So the opening of the pilosebaceous unit blocks, and then B, you have production of sebum as the sebum accumulates below that blockage. And then as the sebum accumulates, you have C. acnes really starting to grow out of control. After that, you end up with inflammation. And that's where the bright red pimple starts. I beg to differ on this. I believe that there's another mechanism at play. If you look at hunter-gatherers, they have hyperkeratosis sometimes. It doesn't result in inflammatory lesions. They also, during puberty, have an overproduction of sebum. It's just straight related to testosterone levels usually. So again, calling a little bit of bullshit there. Turns out that Cutibacterium acnes, Propionibacterium acnes, same thing. Turns out that hunter-gatherers have those as the dominant microbe in their pilosebaceous units also, much the same as we do, which kind of leaves inflammation. So the mechanism that I used in the formulation of this range went as follows. I believe that there was a breakdown in barrier function due to a state of chronic inflammation, a body-wide state of chronic inflammation caused by microbial disruptions and an immune system that is poorly educated. So in the pilosebaceous unit, a breakdown in barrier function would mean that some plasma moves across into the pilosebaceous unit, and that makes water available in a space where water shouldn't be available. And that allows the bad behavior that we see in Propionibacterium acnes. And then the cascade can run unchecked. That inflammation, by the way, also influences hyperkeratinization. So we have a different take on acne in general.
What does the water do?
The water allows microbial growth. So available water is the limiting factor to how many microbes can grow in that pilosebaceous unit. So as soon as you have water in, now you have chaotic microbial growth. Yeah. And it's the breakdown in barrier function that allows that to happen. So let's get to the question of why the face. So there's a vellus follicle. So those are the kind of follicles you'd find on a normal smooth piece of skin. And you can see what they look like. The sebaceous gland is tiny, and the amount of sebum produced is tiny. A sebaceous follicle, that's the kind of follicle that you'd find on your face and on your chest and central back. And then on a normal terminal follicle, maybe you would find those on your head, obviously, or maybe in men elsewhere as well. So the vellus follicle, you don't have enough sebum to spark acne, and in the terminal follicle, you have a hair that allows that sebum to spill out onto the surface of skin as it's supposed to. It's only on the face that you have a sebaceous follicle that is producing enormous amounts of sebum and doesn't have a hair to keep the flow free. So that's why you end up with acne on your face usually, or on chest or back. So we're pitching acne as a mismatched disease. So Daniel Lieberman is a Harvard evolutionary biologist, and he's looked at human beings and their evolution for a really long time. And around 2015, he came up with a concept of mismatched diseases. It's a disease that you see in an animal when its lifestyle changes too fast for its genes. So our genetic code is clearly not built for living in a concrete box all day, every day. We're designed to be out there, going on little adventures, looking for food with people we like. And the change in lifestyle has caused NCDs, non-communicable diseases. So these are diseases that aren't driven by a virus or a bacterium, like diabetes, heart disease, cancer. These are the really big killers. These are the things that are going to kill 60 or 70% of us. And all of those diseases, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and a few others, have their origins in a state of chronic inflammation. It's when your body is slightly inflamed pretty much all the time. Instead of your immune system being at a state of complete rest, alertness, but rest, and then responding to real threats, it's trying to respond to partial threats or perceived threats all the time, because it's not seeing what it's expecting to see, which is constant microbial chatter. It's like in isolation, and it's starting to lose its mind a little. Yeah. So we evolved for this active outdoor lifestyle, and we now live sedentary indoor lives. Statistics show that we spend somewhere around 93% of our time indoors. That's broken up by mostly just indoors, with about 5% of our lives in cars, which effectively is indoors. And acne is one of the resulting conditions. So how do we use biotechnology to mimic our old lives? Yeah, I had a piece of paper here somewhere. So yeah, I think somebody once told me that when you give a presentation, you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. So I'm going to try and give that a go. So I've got a few options. I'll read them quickly. These are like, if I had to pitch this in an elevator, how would I describe what we've done here? How would I explain the problem and how we came up with a solution? So the one that I think is probably, well, it's the shortest, but it's a pitch to probably more of the medical space. Yeah. So that pitch would look something like, do you use topical retinoids to treat acne? Why do you do that? There's a UV stable alternative that gives you the same results or better without the side effects. Topical retinoids like adapalene and retinoid are effective at improving acne. After 12 weeks, adapalene, for example, which is the best of the retinoids, improves acne scores by an average of 26%. We use bakuchiol in combination with live probiotics to give a 38% improvement in 8 weeks.
That's pretty cool.
So that's, so that's for somebody who's going to engage with percentages and improvements, and yeah. Another pitch might be
a pitch for a teenager.
A pitch for a teenager.
Yeah. This will improve your Friday nights.
You know, that pitch is like is going to look something like doesn't you're going to have to just suck it up for the next 3 months, whatever you do. You know, your one option is to go onto a 3-month antibiotic course, combination with retinoids. It's going to do your head in a little bit. You're going to be depressed and unhealthy, but your pimples will go away. It's still going to take 2 or 3 months though. So instead of doing that, perhaps you should give our version a go first before you get into the heavy hitting, really damaging stuff. Our option is side effect free. It's worth a chance, you know, that's for sure.
And encourages sunshine.
Yeah, but yeah, for sure. But I mean, maybe difficult for a Finnish person in the middle of winter, yeah. But yeah, so that was, so one of the, you know what, let me go through and I'll do this at the end. Okay, so if our basic pitch is going to be to sell this thing to, you know, sell a traditional lifestyle, do hunter-gatherers and subsistence farmers get acne? Well, answer is overwhelmingly no. In Papua New Guinea, they took 1,200 subjects. 300 of those were the highest risk category for acne, so between 15 and 25. They were graded under bright light by dermatologists, and they didn't find a single inflamed pustule, not one. So nobody in 1,200 subjects had a pimple. So they tried it again in the Ashe in eastern Peru, and they looked at them for 4 years from 1997 to 2001, and same deal. Didn't find a single inflamed pustule. And it's not that surprising, let's be honest. You know, if you look at the natural world, I mean, look at birds with like ludicrously long tails. Why do they have those? It clearly is more difficult to fly and live as a male bird with a really long tail. It's all sexual selection. It's because you know, there's competition for mates. And in the human game, I can promise you now that evolution would have cleared out people who had big inflamed pustules on their faces at the time of long-term mate selection. So you're about to like pair up for life here, and right then is when you choose the evolution doesn't let that shit happen. And now 85% of teenagers are going through that at the time during which their personalities are busy forming. You know. So that's not natural. That's the kind of thing that happens to a zoo animal. If you like take them out of their natural habitat, throw them in a concrete box and leave them lying there, they're going to get rashes, and they're going to be unhealthy, and they're going to put on weight, and they're going to be depressed. It's a little bit like a human being right now. You know. So how do we, yeah, anyway, okay. So from our point of view, you know, we've been looking a little bit at, we've been doing a lot of sequencing studies. So we looked at local Zulu folk, and these people had similar living conditions to each other. So their home lives were very similar, but their work lives were different. So we compared the diversity among farm workers to the diversity. This is, and we're only, let's just be clear, S is overwhelmingly interested in the facial skin microbiome. You've got a whole bunch of others, armpits and all, and we are not going to get into that. It's like we're specializing in the ecology of the savanna. Like we can't afford to get into coral reefs or rainforests or deserts. We're looking at one kind of ecosystem. It's complex enough trying to deal with that without having to try be an expert at everything else also. So we compare the farm workers. So these are people who are in a rural setting working in the soil and with plants all day, and we compared them to people with very similar living conditions that worked in a factory. And we showed that they'd lost around, that the factory workers had lost around about 60% of the diversity that was on their skin. So we have a lot of European samples to compare this to. So we chose a random 20 because that study was 20 people and we averaged it out. And we chose a random 20 samples from around the EU, and we found out that the average EU sample is 73%, has 73% less diversity than a farm worker. So Larry Weiss and has been doing a lot of work with the Yanomami, one of the last remaining tribes in the Amazon, and it's about what they're seeing there also. They're claiming that Western people have lost somewhere around 80% of the diversity on skin, and we're seeing somewhere around 73% loss. Interesting that the living conditions are at least have a semi-rural living condition still has some protective effect. So what percentage of the skin microbiome does P. acnes make up in these samples? So farm workers, about a quarter of their skin microbiome is made up of P. acnes. In the factory workers, it made around about 36% of the skin microbiome, and in the EU, about 58%. So as we're losing other diversity, P. acnes is picking up the slack and just dominating on skin. Okay. So we're looking for diversity within the group of cobalt skin microbes. I could go outside now, stick my hand in the dirt and wipe the dirt on my face, do a swab, and I would have a very diverse skin microbiome. It's just not that simple. We need diversity to come from within almost. It's those looking for a word for endogenous. Yeah, so it's an endogenous microbe. It's a microbe that's living in our skin, not just one that we just throw on top.
It comes through. Yeah.
So that and then we want that so that there's this microbial chatter of transients, and that keeps our immune response educated or measured. Yeah. And that the goal there is to reduce chronic inflammation, and I believe that will resolve largely acne. So we've looked at the conventional philosophy, and we're going to move rather toward rewilding skin. Shit, I've only got like 15 minutes left. Okay, we're going to move it up a bit. So our approach is to use biotechnology to mimic the conditions for which we have evolved. And that's basically rewilding. We're back to rewilding skin. So we're going to use probiotics to balance the inflammatory response. We're going to supplement with provitamin D to mimic the sunshine that we should be seeing every day. And we're going to, instead of using retinoids with nasty side effects, we're going to shift over to bakuchiol, which is actually just a no-brainer. I don't know why anyone hasn't done that. So does our approach work? Okay, so let's just quickly look at what our approach does to the skin microbiome. On day 0, we see an average of 18 families on skin. So hang on, just to be clear about the way this study looked, we took 14 people with acne, and I'm not going to get into the Leeds grading system, but we had a minimum grade, so we wanted some inflammatory acne present. We we gave them the product. We asked them to use it twice a day, and on day 60 we sampled their skin microbiome again to see what changes there were. So after 60 days, they'd had a substantial improvement in the diversity on their skin, which is good news. Not necessarily, you know, it's not like we were going to fall on our sword over that, but it's good news. What we did see is a substantial reduction in Staphylococcus. Using our skincare regime definitely knocked the Staphylococcus clade back. We went from 21% down to 7 or 8%. It's the p-value there was 0.0007, so it's no, sorry, 0.007. So the chances of that happening just randomly by mistake were somewhere around 7 in 1,000. So I think we can be pretty sure that it's linked to the skin regime that they were on. At the same time, we saw a massive increase in the amount of lactobacillus. That's not that surprising. We're adding live lactobacillus onto skin twice a day. What is interesting is that we went from 0.16 to 1.7%. So that's like a 10-fold increase. But that sample wasn't taken like as they'd applied the product. It was taken 2 days or 3 days after they'd stopped using. So it looks like lactobacillus over time entrains itself into the skin microbiome. But overwhelmingly from the client, particularly a teenager, I can hear, so what? Don't care about the changes in my skin microbiome. Tell me that my pimples are gone. So this is what happened to the total number of pustules. By day 60, we had a 46% reduction in the total number of pustules. But as I mentioned, we were looking largely at inflamed pustules as a target in the beginning, and we improved inflamed pustules by 64% on average. Honestly, those figures, that's all very nice, excellent. You've taken 2/3 of my pimples away. What would have happened if I'd gone the hardcore route? So very luckily, there's been a recent systematic review of how retinoids fare in combating acne. So adapalene, after 12 weeks, will give you a 26% improvement in your acne score. If you take adapalene and benzoyl peroxide, so just to be clear, adapalene is the new sort of benchmark retinoid. You have tretinoin and adapalene, and then you've got the old school ones which are more damaging, the retinol, and you know. So, but anyway, so adapalene is a new wave mild retinoid. If you mix adapalene with benzoyl peroxide, you can improve your acne score by around 30% in 12 weeks. So there we go. And then S offers you 30.
Double thing.
No, well, S is offering a 38% improvement in 8 weeks.
Okay, but the 64?
No, that was the number of lesions. That was the, yeah. So that was the total number of lesions. This is because of the grading systems. You've got to get into exactly which grading system.
Okay, so 24 versus 38.
Yeah. So 26% in 12 weeks is what you're going to get from retinoids. 38% in 8 weeks is what you're going to get from us. It should be a no-brainer. Adverse reactions are very common with retinoids. So if you use adapalene at 0.3%, around about 40% of people will have an adverse reaction that is worth reporting. It's, yeah. So that's a pretty high reaction rate. You're going to sell 10 of these, 4 of them are going to come back going, hey, that hurt too much. With tretinoin at 0.5%, 62% of people will have an adverse event. And with S, we had lower than 2%. So we had but again, that's just not surprising. You know, bakuchiol is retinoids without the reactions. It's not unstable, phototoxic, and it doesn't cause reactions. Okay, but you might say, as a teenager, like, just fix this. I don't care about the rest of my microbiome. I'm going to do antibiotics, and I'm going to take a 3-month course of antibiotics, and I'm going to combine it with topical adapalene. If you do that, you'll have a 69% improvement in your acne grading. So it works. There's no doubt. A 3-month course of antibiotics will give you a substantial improvement in your acne score. But if you're prepared to give S a go, we can offer you a 62% improvement in the same period of time, without the side effects and without tearing your microbiome apart. So, and just to be clear, we believe that the recurrence rate is going to be much, much lower. So what happens with antibiotics and retinoids is that as soon as you stop using them, the acne comes romping back, and you end up with perhaps even worse acne than you started off with, because now all your P. acnes is resistant to antibiotics. Anyway, so this is the range, 4 products. I promise you we try to keep this as simple as we could. You know, it was an exercise in minimalism. I think too often people try to do too much in one hit. So this is one of the kickers with this range, is that there's going to be tension between the client and the therapist. The client's going to be, I want my skin clean. If it's clean, then I'm not going to get pimples, because pimples are caused by bacteria. And also the client's going to want to reduce oil. The client's going, this oil is what's behind my acne. I want it gone. And here we are going, actually you want your skin to be a whole lot dirtier. And if you're going to strip the oil off your skin all the time, your skin's going to learn and produce a lot more oil. And that's where that pimples are coming from in the first place. So we're going, like, be less clean, and don't be scared of oil. Like, sometimes you've got to fight oil with oil. Yeah. So there's going to be tension there, that's for sure. So that's just a before after of one of them. You can see the trajectory. You know, you can see that the inflamed lesions are effectively gone-ish. You know, it's never going to be complete, but this person's well on the way to having no pimples, certainly no inflamed ones. And I mean, what you're seeing there is effectively healing lesions from before. Just to be clear though, this person, this is not going to be linear every time. It's not going to be that every single person that uses this range is guaranteed a result. What's going to happen is you're going to have responders and non-responders. We're seeing a responder rate of like 80+%. So, you know, there's going to be still the odd person that is maybe not going to see results because there's an underlying condition that we can't address. But overwhelmingly, what we're seeing is that that there's resolution of acne in responders. But it's not quick. This isn't like, I know we're better than retinoids, but we face the same problem as any acne solution, is that the client needs to be sat down and go, right, it doesn't matter what you do from now, your pimples are not going to be gone by Friday. It's a 3-month process, and you need to just settle down and push through here. Like, it's going to take time. This is how the process is going to go. We're going to work together to get this thing done, and this is the route. So if you map it out for people, they know what they're getting into. Okay, so I'm running out of time here. This is a soapless cleanser from one of our competitors. You see curcumin, propyl betaine, and sodium lauryl sulfate highlighted, and this is there to strip sebum off, because sebum is the enemy. So we very strongly believe that that's a bad idea. It breaks down barrier function, increases inflammation, and drives acne into new heights, really. The conventional approach is then to knock sebum production down with retinoids and try and mitigate the inflammation. But we believe it would be way, way better to minimize disruption to barrier coming out the gates. So decalglucoside is something we use in like 2 products now. So, and even that's too irritating for skin for acne, in my opinion. So if you strip sebum, skin's going to respond by producing more oil faster. You can't get this idea of being clean is null in any case, because the pilosebaceous unit is like deep. You can't get soap in there, I promise, any soap. So you can't get in there to influence the P. acnes levels in any case. All you're doing is destroying the surface. And then these surfactants are known to disrupt barrier function. As a matter of fact, they're used as the benchmark to disrupt barrier function in the industry. And hyperkeratosis is more likely with increased inflammation. So on pretty much every single one of their own philosophy, hyperkeratosis, sebum production, C. acnes, overgrowth, and inflammation, surfactants are a bad idea. So I don't know really. So we built a cleanser with no surfactants. It has 2% salicylic acid to help with the hyperkeratosis, and also as actually primarily as an antifungal, because we believe that malassezia is linked to acne a lot of the time. It includes activated carbon to try and mop up some toxins. We believe that cold water is better than this cleanser. So if you don't wear makeup, use cold water. If the client isn't going to be convinced for that course of action, then, well, they can buy this cleanser because it removes makeup quite nicely. Okay, so this is my new favorite product. I think we did a really, really good job. It's simple, it's elegant, and it's about as good as we can do right now. The highlight ingredient is going to vary, I think. You know, if you're talking to a dermatologist, you may want to focus on the bakuchiol and go, dude, this is giving you retinoids without the side effects. Maybe for some, some other dermatologists with more ecological thinking around the skin microbiome, you may want to focus on the fact that it has billions of live lactobacillus from a consortium of 4 different species. And the alternative is to look at the vitamin D, which is driving vitamin D production in skin, which we're all very sorely short of. So those are the 3 keys to this line. And I'm really worried that the market looks at this thing and goes, ooh, not so sure, I'm already a bit oily. I'm just going to use the clarifying serum. You can keep your oil. And then we're not going to get the results that we're promising. To get the results that we're promising, you have to use the oil. So we've used a mix of 4 different probiotics, some hardy plant associated, so like a rewilding philosophy there, like we're going to take nature's microbes and bring them back, and then also some human sourced species that we're short of because of our shitty lifestyles. So combined, they all make up about 2 billion colony-forming units per milliliter. They're there to improve barrier function, reduce inflammation, and obviously reduce inflammatory lesions. So, yeah, that's the story behind the probiotics. Vitamin D. So if you look at acne severity, it's very closely correlated with vitamin D deficiency. So the less vitamin D you have, the worse your acne is. So severe acne is linked to vitamin D levels that are really low, and it's very high statistical relevance. Oral vitamin D is less effective. You want the skin to make vitamin D where it's supposed to be, because we wouldn't normally have got vitamin D from our diets. We would have got it from being in the sun all day. And the keratinocyte, it's a beautiful system actually. The keratinocyte is the only cell that can do the whole vitamin D process. You know, all other cells in your body, it's got to go to, you know, from skin, then it's got to go into the liver for the first conversion, then it's got to go back into the bloodstream, and then to your kidneys for conversion there, and then it only becomes active vitamin D. Skin cells can do the whole lot. So there's a reason for that, you know. I'm not going to get into the chemistry, but these keratinocytes can complete the entire vitamin D cycle. So obviously, if you're taking oral vitamin D, your body's not used to having to take vitamin D to your liver and then your kidneys and then try and transport it to the biggest organ in your body, which is distributed all over the place, where it's hard to get vitamin D onto the basal layer. So the oral vitamin D is not going to be as effective. So what we do is we give you pro-vitamin D, and then it needs to be activated by sunlight to pre-vitamin D, and your skin will handle the rest. So we're working on a lot of things that will be ancillary to this range, but nevertheless, the provitamin D needs UV light to activate. So we do recommend that clients go into the sun for 15 minutes a day if possible. Okay, so bakuchiol basically mimics retinoids without the side effects. It's a pure molecule. It has a natural source. And we are very particular about the bakuchiol that we use. It gets NMR'd, it gets GCMS'd. We're very snooty about the bakuchiol, and we use it at high percentages. The big thing with retinoids is that you're not supposed to go in the sun, which I believe is a balls up. You know, this molecule is not light sensitive. It doesn't give you that phototoxic reaction that retinoids do, and we actively advise clients to go into the sun with this product. If you look at the epigenetics of it, bakuchiol and retinol are very, very similar. And just one quick aside, when we look at the skin microbiome of hunter-gatherers, it's looking like we've almost got two. There's the endogenous microbiome, which is what we measure when we measure Western people. It's the microbiome that's coming out of your sebaceous glands, out of your sweat glands, and it's the microbiome that is in the skin. What we're supposed to have is this other microbiome, this biofilm of other microbes. The problem is that one shower with soap and that microbiome's gone. Now they're finding that that microbiome in hunter-gatherers actually produces its own kind of retinoids and carotenoids. So it's producing the raw materials for this stuff all the time. So bakuchiol gives you a mimic for that. So this is us again rewilding. It's bringing back the stuff that you should have on your skin. Okay, here's the serum. So on this, we're looking at prebiotics, salicylic acid, niacinamide as an anti-inflammatory, hyaluronic acid to interrupt the cytokine cascade and to improve barrier function, and then some antimicrobial peptides from lactobacillus that target Staph aureus in particular. So that's probably why we sort these lactobacillus AMPs that probably knock the Staph population so heavily. The 2% salicylic acid, we would expect to drop the malassezia levels quite a lot. So that's the yeasts on skin. The prebiotics we're hoping boosts the skin microbiome, which is probably why we're seeing this increase in diversity. And then niacinamide is there to just calm that inflammatory response down. Okay, so the spot corrector is basically the oil and the serum in one emulsion with all of the actives at dangerous levels. So it is though. I mean, it's just like if you take that spot corrector and put it over your whole face, it is not a good idea. You know, this thing is designed for very localized use. The levels of the actives are too high for daily use on a large surface. So don't do that. But other than that, it literally is that. It's the oil and the serum combined. So high percentage of. Hey, I'm not too far over. Check. I'm done. Yeah. Okay, I think that's me out of here. I'm not too sure what I do next.
You say over to you, Lauren.
Over to you, Lauren.
Thanks, Trevor. Thank you so much.
Cool.
So I'm sure everyone is really excited to get their hands on the clarifying range. Es has taken a very different approach with the clarifying range. We've chosen to minimize the disruption to the skin's natural balance with a non-foaming cleanser. We formulated a facial oil with ingredients to balance sebum production, really fighting oil with oil. And we've used live probiotics and prebiotics to help to rewild the skin's microbial ecology. And we've avoided the use of synthetic chemicals that pollute it. Now, it's important for us to remember that we are treating quite an intricate skin condition. So it's very common for the skin to experience an adjustment period and for the acne condition to get worse before it gets better. This is one of the reasons why we are encouraging our clients to work with a professional skincare therapist who can guide and coach them through this journey, which includes product usage, professional skin treatments, and perseverance. So I just want to recap some of the products Trevor went through and specifically how we would encourage our therapists to use them. So first, we've got our clarifying cleanser. Now, like Trevor said, this is a non-foaming, non-stripping charcoal-infused cleanser that's going to soothe the skin with probiotic extracts. How we want our consumers to use this at home is that they're going to apply it evenly to the face and massage it in to loosen makeup. If the acne is inflamed and aggressive, you can wipe it off with a sustainable cotton pad or cloth, or you can simply rinse it with lukewarm water. Remember, Es's take on cleansing is that we only recommend cleansing in the evening if you're going to be removing makeup. In the morning, it is best to splash the skin with cool or lukewarm water. Moving on to our clarifying oil. So that clarifying oil is the easily absorbed light facial oil that has that synergy of live probiotics that's really going to shift the microbiome. So the use of the clarifying oil here is that you're going to pump 1 to 2 pumps and apply it to the facial area before using your clarifying serum. This is going to help enhance the penetration of the oil. The great thing about this oil is that you can tailor make the amount according to suit your skin condition, and we recommend this is applied morning and evening. You would then follow with the clarifying serum. So this is our skin supplement that's going to be reducing inflammation, regulating oil production, and providing the skin with those pre and probiotics to boost that natural barrier function. When it comes to the clarifying serum, we're going to apply about 2 to 3 pumps evenly over the face and neck, over the clarifying oil, and again applying this every morning and every evening. And lastly, our powerful spot corrector, so the clarifying spot corrector. It's packed with that salicylic acid, bakuchiol, and niacinamide to help ensure that spot and inflammation relief. So as Trevor said, this is applied to a localized area wherever there is an inflamed papule or pustule, and you can apply it morning and evening over the clarifying oil and serum. Like we said, this product is not recommended for larger areas like the entire forehead, so we would only want to use it on localized inflamed pustules. So this is S's answer to treating an acne skin. 4 products to balance the microbiome by harnessing the power of biotechnology. So I'd like to just recap the positioning of this range in the market. S has always been committed to the professional therapist, and clarifying range will be even more considered. Acne as a skin condition is one of the hardest for therapists to treat. And after discussing our clarifying range, we are recommending that this is only sold by a professional skin therapist in a salon or clinic and not in retail chains or online. Now, this is really to empower the therapist as the expert and ensure that the consumer gets the best advice for their acne skin. We recommend all clients have a full consultation with a qualified therapist to ensure the consumer understands the condition of acne and how to use the clarifying range, as well as S's unique take on treating acne. The clarifying range will be in retail units only and not in professional sizes. However, we have created a treatment protocol for you to treat acne skins using the retail products in an S-Experience treatment protocol. Not only is this a great way to start treating the acne condition, but application of this product is a fantastic way for the clients to experience and test it on their skin. And the therapist can use this as an educational moment to explain S's approach to treating acne. So for those therapists who like a recipe, after this launch, they will be receiving an updated S-Experience and Ultimate S-Experience costing document, as well as suggested protocols like you can see on the screen. Given that this condition is something you won't be treating on multiple clients daily, we have included the retail sizes into the end of your treatment. So on the slide, you will see that we're recommending the application of the spot corrector on specific inflamed lesions only after you've applied your eye and lip treatment. It could also be applied at the end after you've applied the treatment oil and serum. You would then end off your treatment with the application of the clarifying oil and the clarifying serum, which would be your final product. Now, we don't encourage the use of SPF or foundation over these products, but should the client be concerned, a light layer of the S foundation can be applied because this is still better than them running off to the bathroom and putting on their own cosmetics. With any new product, we like to ensure we're supporting your business with business support so that you can drive this forward in your markets. So this range will consist of 4 products, each with unique benefits as discussed during our training. And we have some fantastic sell-in and sell-out deals for you and that you can pass on to your therapists and salon owners in your own markets. Okay, so our sell-in deal is something that you would have got an email from Karen. Your sell-out deal that you can offer to all of your salon owners is that if they purchase 4 items of each SKU, they will receive a free value that is testers for retail and for product treatment protocol use. They will get 50% off the oil price, as well as belly bands that they can use to put the serum and the oil together and offer at a special combo price for launch. Now, we've stressed the importance of using this oil and serum together. So this is a great way to get first-time consumers onto the S clarifying range and ensuring they're using these products together. We have ensured that we've launched a 360-degree approach to how you will be working within businesses and launching the clarifying range. The acne range will be represented by a light minty green color to align with the packaging, and we will have the face micro visual to build on the rewild your skin message. This visual has been kept very clean and crisp to ensure visual impact while still remaining beautiful. We will be combining the point of sale message with these key visuals and product visuals to ensure that we roll this out throughout all consumer communication. All countries are welcome to send through any translations and localized changes, and the marketing and design team will gladly assist any work that's required. Standard pack shots as well as visuals for social media and print have been uploaded under the gallery and images folders on the portal already. The homepage will be updated with a new slider to introduce the range and direct people to acne pages. From the product navigation bar, there are 3 areas that we will include this range. So firstly, by product category. So this is where each product within the range will be allocated to its specific category, such as cleansers or serums. It will then be by range. So this is a new range for clarifying will be created, where you will find all 4 of the new products. And then by skin concern, the acne page will be updated, and the new approach to acne with S and will feature these 4 products at the bottom of the page. We have developed selective points of sale material that you and your customers can use to drive awareness of the range. So this ranges from A1 posters, A6 table talkers, backing boards featuring the products, consumer brochures that give a brief overview and can actually be used as a great education moment that therapists can use to speak to clients about the clarifying range. All of these elements are currently in print and will be sent through to DL as soon as they're available, and soft copies are already available on the portal. Monthly content will be created with a social media calendar and will be shared as per the calendar requirements. This will include static posts, GIFs, reels, and blogs, and the blogs will also assist in promotion of SEO for the website. Content can be kept to use once the range rolls out in each of the markets. Now, influencers is another social media medium that you can use and is market dependent. This medium needs to be used carefully as a fit with the range is important. So due to this, we have chosen not to focus on influencer drops for the launch, but if this is something you would wish to explore and collaborate with influencers, please reach out to the marketing team and we can absolutely see how we can support you. Paid media can be implemented for search, display, and social media. So this will be starting from a global perspective in October to ensure that we're giving time for the trade to adopt the pack and for everything to be available. There will be various keywords that will address searches for acne, and this will all be used to promote the range. A display banner will be set and has been created across all banner sizes, and this is already available on the portal. Social media ads can be implemented from monthly content, or alternatively, carousel ads can be created using the various pieces of content. We will share what's available from a global side once the development of this has been completed. And then for the professionals, we've developed a professional trade magazine print ad that is available on the portal. We are able to assist you with translations and local adaptations if they're needed. And content will be created with our monthly LinkedIn content calendar that really speaks to the professionals in our markets. Further to this, you will also have all the education material from myself and Alicia that will be used or shared via email as well as loaded onto the portal in the next few days. So we have anticipated some questions that might pop up during the launch, and to try and answer these right here and right now, I'd like to welcome Alicia to take us through some of the frequently asked questions that your markets may ask you.
Hi everyone. After hearing all of that, I hope you are as excited as we are to roll this range out into your markets and salons. I would like to take you through some frequently asked questions now, with the first question being, how long do you need to use the clarifying range for? As Trevor mentioned, our trials were done over a 60-day period, but we recommend using the range for at least 90 days for best results. It is important to note that your client might initially experience that skin adjustment period, and this can be different for each client and is usually noticed around the 2-week mark. They might notice their condition worsening slightly before improving, but we encourage them and urge them to persist with the routine, as the overall improvement will be worth it. So once acne has cleared, can we move on to other S products? Yes, once acne has cleared, clients can wean off the clarifying range and move to other S products. We suggest the sensitive line as the next step following the clarifying range. So if you are going to wean off the clarifying range, what would this weaning process look like? So when weaning from the clarifying range to the sensitive range, reduce the use of the clarifying products from daily to twice per week to once per week until finally stopping. When you are reducing the frequency of application of the clarifying products, the client can fill in the gaps using the sensitive line products. It is important to avoid overloading the skin with products, so only apply products as needed. Can non-acne users use the range? It's important to remember that this range is specifically designed for clients struggling with acne and especially inflammatory pustules. People without acne should be using other S products. In the case of very mild acne, we can recommend using the clarifying cleanser and perhaps the spot corrector. So could any of these products work for blackheads or severe congestion only? Some of the products in the range contain salicylic acid, which can help deal with the hyperkeratosis that leads to congestion and the formation of blackheads. The cleanser, serum, and spot corrector all contains this active ingredient. We do suggest having a conversation with your client to decide what will work best for them. Now, can the clarifying range be combined with medical acne treatment? The range can be combined with antibiotic treatment, although antibiotics will not be doing the skin microbiome any favors. But our products can perhaps help to reduce the damage somewhat. Combination with oral retinoids might need to be monitored, which brings me to my next question. Can the clarifying range be used for patients undergoing retinoid treatment or following retinoid treatment? We're happy for clients to use the products after retinoid treatment. However, bakuchiol on top of retinoid treatment may be too much for the skin. This range contains high levels of bakuchiol, so we recommend caution in terms of using the range during treatment with retinoids, especially high doses of retinoids. Can we offer the clarifying range as a solution to fungal acne, which we know is an imbalance of malassezia? Salicylic acid has broad spectrum antifungal activity and would be effective against yeasts like malassezia. The range is also designed to address underlying inflammation, which is still an important factor in treating fungal acne. So this can definitely be recommended for fungal acne. Can we use the clarifying range for perioral dermatitis and rosacea? Unfortunately not. The clarifying range has been designed to address acne, and we should use it as it's intended for its intended use. We can't go and head off into other medical claims like perioral dermatitis and rosacea. Something that a lot of clients will be concerned about when they are undergoing acne treatment is post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, because this is often associated with acne, especially when sun exposure is involved. So how does S see this issue in regards to the clarifying range? The clarifying range is geared towards resolving the inflammation that underlies acne. Given that post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation is a result of the inflammatory process, we feel that the range will help minimize the impact. That being said, we don't make the medical claim that it'll actively treat post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Many common acne treatments are negatively impacted by sun exposure, and that's partly because of the phototoxicity of the retinoids. The clarifying range doesn't suffer from this issue, though we still recommend that clients be sensible about their sun exposure. Do we have a different approach to teen acne versus adult acne? This range does take into consideration that teenage acne and adult acne have different hallmarks, and that adult acne sufferers often need more oil supplementation than teenage sufferers. The provision of the oil and serum combination allows the client to tailor the oil content to their skin routine, to match their specific skin oiliness. So that provides an element of personalization and customization that will account for such differences. That said, ACE views acne as a mismatched disease, as mentioned earlier, and it takes an approach that works to return the skin to the wild state for which it has evolved. Given that the underlying issue in mismatched diseases is chronic inflammation, the clarifying range uses this rewilding approach to resolve this common underlying issue. Why does ACE recommend sun exposure following the application of the clarifying oil? The clarifying oil contains provitamin D, which needs to be activated by UVB exposure. Keratinocytes are the only cell type in the human body that can handle the full synthesis of active vitamin D from this point. Adequate vitamin D in skin has a sustainable anti-inflammatory effect, and sun exposure in winter in Europe will unlikely be adequate to activate this ingredient. However, there are multiple other active ingredients in the range which will be effective at treating acne. Our goal is for clients to understand that sun exposure, when possible, is a benefit to treating skin and that there is a significant relationship between vitamin D deficiency and acne severity. Now, since you need direct UV exposure to activate the provitamin D, can consumers use the ACE sunscreen or foundation? Sunscreens filter out the UV wavelengths needed for provitamin D activation. So if the client can get a little bit of sunscreen-free sun exposure after applying the oil, that would be ideal. The clarifying oil is not only dependent on provitamin D for its efficacy. The bakuchiol is also very effective, and the probiotics will provide additional benefits to the skin. So why can't we just supplement with oral vitamin D instead of applying it to the skin? Evolutionarily, there is nowhere near enough vitamin D in food for our bodies. We're designed to manufacture it in our skin. Redistributing vitamin D from the gut to the liver, then the kidneys, and finally to the skin has never been necessary. Skin cells are the only cell type capable of completing the full synthesis of bioactive vitamin D. This means that our skin is designed to have access to a relatively high level of vitamin D. And we believe that it's better for skin if it can manufacture the vitamin D it needs in situ. So right here and right now. Why have we chosen to incorporate oils in the clarifying range? Why are we fighting oil with oil? And Trevor mentioned this earlier as well. Sebum overproduction is one common feature of acne. So acne sufferers often have skin that is quite oily. Conventional approaches remove this oil, but we know that the skin responds intelligently to the removal of oil from its surface by producing more sebum. Having to constantly replace lost oils means that the skin is forced into producing sebum of a lower quality, which only exacerbates the underlying cause of acne. We'd rather fight oil with oil. By placing beneficial oils on the skin surface, it will signal it to reduce sebum production, providing a more long-term solution to sebum overproduction and oily skin. And what is the reason for the specific oils used in the clarifying range? The oils used in the clarifying products are, like in all S products, selected for their similarity to some components of sebum. The nutritive lipids that make up these oils support the growth of beneficial commensal microbes. Can you use the clarifying range in combination with other brands? We have taken a very unique approach to treating acne and in treating skin in general. The acne products can be used in combination with other S products, which consider the many factors contributing to a healthy skin microbiome. Since many other products on the market do not treat skin in this way, we recommend using S exclusively. And then something that Lauren touched on as well. Why is this range recommended by professional therapists only and not made available in retail outlets? Acne is a recognized skin disorder and it should be treated as such. There are many reasons behind our decision to offer this as part of a professional recommendation only. Skin therapists are qualified to be able to recognize the level of acne and the degree of severity. They are trained to have proper consultations with clients to ascertain possible factors involved in the severity of the condition, and they can then give product and lifestyle recommendations based off those conversations. It's also important that the clients need to understand why we chose to use an approach that defies the conventional approach to acne. They need to understand our reasoning behind gentle cleansing, fighting oil with oil, and why persisting for 90 days all contributes to the success of the treatment. The range is intended for mild to moderate acne, and we'd like to avoid the unregulated use of the range by clients who have experienced a mild breakout of a couple of pimples, and then they are convinced that they have acne. So these are just some of the most frequently asked questions we anticipated, and we hope highlighting these provides you with some clarity. Following all of the information shared with you today during this launch, we are sure that you might have some more questions for us. And as Lauren mentioned earlier, you will receive a complete FAQ or frequently asked question document, highlighting important questions and possible answers. However, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions that we might not have covered. Lauren, I'm going to hand back over to you to conclude the launch formalities.
Thanks, Alicia. I hope you're all excited to get your hands on the clarifying range and get it into the salons and clinics and doctors that you're working with. I am going to check if there's any additional questions in the question box before we end off. And I see there are none. So it's obviously been a very informative morning. Like Alicia said, you are getting a lot of tools with this launch in the next couple of days, from scientific briefs to treatment protocols to frequently asked questions to training PowerPoints. So we really do hope that we're setting you and your markets up for success. We are very excited to see the results of changing acne skins and rewilding the skin back to balance. We wish you all the best for the rest of the weekend ahead. This recording will be sent to you so that if any of your teams missed it, they can watch it at a later stage. And please reach out to anybody from the S team if you'd like any additional assistance with the clarifying range. Thank you so much for attending, and we will chat to you soon.